Hello everyone, and welcome to Zeroc Media. In this video, we'll be discussing the game that helped pioneer the term Metroidvania, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. For many years before this entry in the series, Castlevania games were classic platformers, where you would go from level to level in a straightforward way. This all changed with Symphony of the Night, where now you are freely exploring a huge castle while finding gear to upgrade yourself, leveling up, and gaining abilities to allow you to progress through areas. The other half of Metroidvania is a different style of the concept. In the Metroid games, you explore large areas, uncover secrets, gain abilities and such, like in Castlevania. There aren't really RPG mechanics like leveling up and finding different clothing or other gear. The switch to a more open and exploration-based playstyle was, in my opinion, a great decision. Level-based games are still great, but having this style of gameplay develop has paved the way for many excellent titles through the following decades. You play as Richter Belmont for a brief portion of the beginning of the game. This section covers the ending of the previous title, Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Afterwards, you play as Alucard, a half-vampire heading to Count Dracula's castle to put an end to his evil father. There isn't a lot of story here, but what is here is enjoyable. There are several other characters you'll encounter throughout the story, and they are interesting enough. And if you dig deeper and find extra dialogue, Alucard's situation and hardships elevate the story, and give him and Dracula a lot more intrigue. He's a well-designed character, is really stylish, and has a great presence throughout the game. The voice acting and writing isn't always great, though. As I mentioned before, this style of game emphasizes exploring open environments, getting upgrades to allow you to progress into new areas, fighting bosses, and strengthening Alucard. Some of the upgrades you can expect to find will allow you to jump across large gaps, or pass through certain walls. I found Symphony of the Night to have excellent pacing throughout the main part of the title. There's lots of interesting locations in the castle with many secrets to be found. Plus, I rarely got lost, and that can certainly happen with Metroidvanias. The good map feature, which is similar to the one in Super Metroid, helped with that. All of this impressive exploring looks excellent as well, with great animation. Alucard and many of the enemies move around with such smoothness and detail. Most of the areas have a distinct visual and musical style, and it all really comes together for a solid atmosphere. Combat is more involved and interesting than a good number of 2D games. There are basic attacks that change depending on what weapon you're using, including some consumable types like throwing stars. Since the movement is smooth and fast, jumping, backdashing, and attacking all feel good. I found the shields in the game to be unreliable though. Here's where the combat gets more involved. There are a bunch of magic spells of varying effects. Inputting certain button combinations, similar to a fighting game, activates its particular one. Spells involving summoning spirits to auto-attack your enemies, another one can launch fireballs, and a few others are useful too. These all drain your magic meter, and fortunately it fills back up over time and doesn't require finding an item to refill it. Normally, you would buy the scrolls in the game to tell you the button combinations, but you can actually just look them up online because immediately you have access to them all without the in-game scrolls. It could take some memorization, but I think it's sweet to be able to do those fancy spells right away. So we've talked about all the great aspects of the game for this long, and if you play it normally, exploring, leveling up, and building up to the encounter at the top of the castle, you'll likely have a great time. Symphony of the Night would be a short, tight experience. However, mild spoilers ahead. If you want to get the best ending, the game unfortunately takes a turn. To achieve the best ending, the title asks you to go on a wild goose chase and find several additional items you likely wouldn't think to seek out. There are other specific things one must do and discover to progress in this way. And after you complete these tasks, an entire new area is unlocked, except it isn't actually new. It's the same castle you've been exploring, but upside down. and with some new enemies and items. The inverted castle is my least favorite part of the game. It requires you to retread through the same areas as before, except now they're harder to navigate and sometimes make me queasy. It's an odd perspective to hang around in for a while. In addition, most of this inverted castle has the same music track playing, which hinders each area's unique atmosphere present in the normal castle. If it weren't for the inverted castle, I would say this is a clear-cut, superb game. There are other problems with balancing the damage Alucard can deal, the fast travel system being slow, and other oddities, but I didn't find these quirks to be much of a problem. Overall, this is a significant title for gaming as a whole, and is high on the list of influential and important games. The Metroidvania style has been popular in 3D games as well, and we can thank Symphony of the Night and Super Metroid in particular for many games' quality since they released. What do you guys think of the game? If you've played it, I hope you found it as fun as I did. If you haven't played it, I encourage you to try it. I played the version found on the Castlevania Requiem collection. Rondo of Blood, the previous title, is also included, and there are a few different graphical settings to choose from. I didn't have any technical problems with this version, so I can recommend it. Please let me know what you think of the game, video, or anything else in the comments. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you for watching.
You look like you're doing well for yourself.